I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome along to the Tricky Talks podcast, where it's been an excellent 4 days for Forest with back-to-back wins against Utrecht and Spurs. Chelsea, Kate and Mollo are all here with me, beaming with smiles and eager to get going, I'm sure. First of all, hello to you, Chelsea. How are you?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That win yesterday was just, what a day for me to have off work to watch a game like that. So I'm absolutely buzzing.
Excellent. And hello again to you as well, Kate. Nice to see you yesterday, because we sat next to each other to watch the game, didn't we?
We did. You and Danny seem to be a little bit lucky. I've told my boys that's it. The tickets have gone. They can watch it at home from now on.
Excellent. We'll take you up on that offer then, for sure. And last but not least, Mollo, good to see you as well yesterday.
Good to catch up, and I'm assuming, I didn't check, you were wearing your lucky pants because we got the result we needed again.
Yeah,
all good.
I can confirm I was indeed.
You know, you mustn't wash the magic out of them. I keep saying that.
No.
Just deal with the smell.
Well, let's hope the magic doesn't get washed out of Forest, actually, Mollo, because as I said earlier, did you like that little segue there? It was a great 4 days with back-to-back wins in Utrecht and Spurs. Now, I know we didn't record a podcast in the immediate aftermath of that win in Utrecht due to logistical reasons, but let's just touch on what it means to the club in terms of the way forward now, with two good wins in 4 days, different kinds of wins, but both with their own importance. We'll start with you then, Mollo. Obviously, you were there in Utrecht. And what does it mean having won those two games now on the back of a really poor performance away at Everton?
I think the old bounce back ability thing is important, but I think it shows now twice we can do it. We've got the squad. Sean Dyche has got the squad rotating. He's got it working. People playing. They might not miss a whole game, but they might play a limited number of minutes and then have an impact in the next game and vice versa. He's nailed it this week. Can't complain. I watched the whole Utrecht game back this morning and then followed by the Spurs game as well to do my preparation. I'm not going to lie, mainly the Utrecht game if we were going to mention it, just because up until about yesterday I still had Grolsch and strong Dutch beer running through my veins, I think. But really, really pleasing. And it shows what we can do now. We're using that squad, and it's only going to get better with the return of certain players that I'm sure you'll touch on later.
Yeah, and I know, Kate, you were there in Utrecht as well, and we were talking yesterday, weren't we, on the way out of the game, the ground at the end, that it's important not to get carried away following a loss and a defeat, isn't it? Because people were too quick to go on a downer after that Everton performance. But like Mollo said, it's quickly turned around, hasn't it? And I think people just need to step back after each result or not get too carried away with the outcome, because it's the long-term game that's in play now, not necessarily how you perform on a game-by-game basis. That's what we talked about, wasn't it, yesterday, Kate?
It was, although it's kind of easier said than done, that, isn't it? Because particularly the Utrecht game, my God, it was up and down, and we got in there and we were all singing and we were all happy and we were all feeling dead positive, and then we went 1-0 up and it was like, yeah, everybody's absolutely hammering it, and the atmosphere was incredible in Utrecht, absolutely incredible. And I really want to mention that because we have spoken a little bit about the atmosphere not being great, both in the City Ground and in away days in the Premier League. Utrecht absolutely nailed it. And then, of course, they got one back, and then everybody's like, oh, no, what's going to happen now? And we've come all this way, and we were going to win. And then we got another one, and we're like, yeah. So, as much as I appreciate what you're saying there, Simon, I'm not sure that I have connected that heart yet.
So, and Chelsea, obviously we didn't go to Utrecht, but we watched the games on TV, and they put in a different kind of performance in both games. One was a win that they thoroughly deserved against Spurs, which we'll come on to in detail in a sec, but the other one was a much needed away win in Europe because it puts them in a really good spot to qualify in some form for the next knockout stage, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just nice seeing what we are capable of in two different leagues, playing with two quite different squads as well, knowing that we have got, the players necessary. Not again, we've had injuries before in the past, like in the first season, where your squad is so narrow and you're relying on players just to keep holding on with fitness and not getting any injuries. Whereas now we have got a wider squad, and knowing that they are capable and they can match each other's capabilities in two very different leagues, and it's just really nice. It's just a really nice feeling, just knowing that they've won in Europe, and then now they've won in the Premier League back to back. Just seeing what we are capable of with the right manager and the right kind of arm around the mould. It just sees what we can achieve, and it's just brilliant. It's just great to be a Forest fan, isn't it?
It always is, regardless win, lose or draw, to be fair. Always great to be a Forest fan. But let's get on to Spurs then. And when having a think about what we could talk about today, one of the questions I posed was the performance of the Spurs the best overall performance of the season so far? We've seen them display it the first half against Brentford, or maybe a bit longer than that, potentially Real Betis the first half, Liverpool away, of course, to name a few. But was the Spurs game the best overall performance? I'd quite like to have a discussion about that. So feel free to chip in whenever you want. But we'll start with you, Mollo. What are your thoughts on that? Because it was exceptional yesterday, wasn't it?
It's the first probably 90, well, can't call it 90 minutes anymore, but first whistle to last whistle, dominant performance I can remember in the Premier League, if you don't count that weird Brighton game where we hit them on the break 7 times, well, beautifully on the break 7 times. We dominated them from start to finish. When they had the ball, they looked absolutely no threat. So I'd have to say, in terms of a Premier League game, I think, yes, it was, because we were so dominant. The only disappointing thing was it should have been maybe 6 or 7, not just 3. Oh dear. But no, genuinely, it could easily have been 6. We were doing that thing, weren't we, after about however long it was, 25, 30 minutes before the first goal, saying, this is a worry. We're all over them. We've had 2 fantastic chances in particular with the headers, and we're still only nil. How many times have we seen this before, where the other team then gets something, kind of like that Sunderland game with that, let's not talk about that manager, but it just didn't happen. We just went and just created chance after chance after chance. The back 4 were absolutely imperious, which, to be fair, it was built upon. That you've got to give, Sean Dyche absolutely right. If you keep that back door shut, nothing's coming through. The new keeper was barely troubled, and what little he had to do, he did really, really well. I say new keeper, you know what I mean? I can't pick fault with anything we did, apart from we should have given our goal difference a right boost, because that's the only caveat, and I mentioned it on the group. Tottenham were so poor. I don't just mean poor in quality. Watching that as a layman and non-Tottenham fan, my assumption is the players are not playing for the manager or something, because when a team is olaying you, someone goes in and smashes you. And for 5 minutes, nobody did, until that Porro did something, which, fair play, although it was crap, he did that. Yes, we made them look bad. We played some amazing football. I'm not knocking that. But equally, and you can only beat what's in front of you, but it was almost like a training game to them. They weren't putting in, they put in some stupid fouls. They didn't put in tackles. They didn't pressure us. They didn't do anything. They were so bad. And we were saying at half time, he's going to change something now, isn't he? Because we're dominating them so much, especially in that middle of midfield where our 2 midfielders were both absolutely destroyed them. So yeah, overall, the best we've played in the Premier League in terms of the actual dominance of the performance. But obviously, you can't compare that to winning at Anfield last season against it's a different type of win. But certainly in terms of pure football, and dare I say, pure Dyche ball, zipping the ball around beautifully, short and long sometimes. It was beautiful to watch at times, wasn't it? And it could have been. They couldn't have complained if it was 6 or 8-0.
I think one of the things that really stuck out for me was the tempo. So when you said, we had those chances at the beginning, but we didn't score them. And what has tended to happen in previous games is we've done exactly that. We've had a period of time where we've dominated, where we've come forward, where we've got into good areas, we've created some chances, we haven't scored them, and then that's just sort of died away. I just kept thinking, if we can just keep up the tempo, if we can just keep these levels as they are, then this is going to be great. And we did. And we did even after we'd scored. You know, we didn't sit back and go, well, we'll defend the 1-0 or we'll defend the 2-0. We just kept at them. I do think there's an element of them inviting that in because, like you say, they weren't great. But I also do think there was an element of us nullifying them, us delivering a game plan to absolute perfection, and then the players just suddenly realising that they had the freedom to do that, to control the game, to take their chances, to have some fun. They were having a great time out there, the Forest players. They were living their best lives.
So
as
were we.
were we. In the stands, as were we, absolutely. And again, that feeling of, we're going to win this game. Like, we are going to win this game. They are not going to come back and score 2 quick goals, 3 quick goals. We're going to win this game and we're going to win it well. And against Spurs, that was just absolutely mega. What a great day.
You mentioned there, Kate, about having tempo, and that tempo was there from the first minute or two, wasn't it? It was obvious. And I'm speculating, and I've got a theory in that I know they swapped ends, didn't they, and attacked the Trent end in the first half. And I wonder if that was a deliberate thing, because previously, after European games, they've traditionally come out slow and sluggish. Leeds was part an exception because they won the game, but they did go behind in that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they needed to have that the way they could get that tempo quicker than they have done in the past was to attack their favoured Trent end in the first half, because historically, you know, they always like to attack the Trent end in the second half because they've got the fans behind that goal, and it's always been the case. I wonder if there was some method behind swapping ends early to give them that impetus and that tempo sooner rather than what they normally got. I'm purely speculating. We're
Did
not
we
going to
win
know
the toss
for
then?
sure.
So I don't actually
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. But what I do remember is Gibbs White sprinted into your half of the field at Mollo quickly after the toss. So
I think they just wanted to attack where A block were because they knew they'd have that behind them.
But Chelsea, I don't know whether you noticed that watching it on TV or whether they'd gone to a break or whatever. But do you think am I crazy to think that?
Well, anything what works with what works, really, isn't it? I didn't notice, but whether it's just because I wasn't looking out for it, then I'm not 100% sure. But I don't know. Going back to in performance-wise, I'll always look at result and performance in every game that we play. With Wolves, obviously, it was great to get that 3 points, but we didn't do a great performance, and that did still worry me. We had both yesterday, and we just looked so compact. The balance was completely right. Everybody had their role. Everyone performed phenomenally well. And I don't know about you, but having Hudson-Odoi and Hutchinson, to me, the outlet from both of them was absolutely fantastic. And that's what you need. And the 3-1 win that we had Brentford earlier, that was back in August, that was the best performance I think we'd said. But I do think that this tops it in terms of, if you'd like to call it, playing a top 6, you know, because really, you know, as they say.
Bottom 4, weren't they?
Bottom 4. But I think one thing to take away from that is how confident that everyone was. And we haven't seen that in how many months? And it's so nice to see. No, go ahead.
No, I think in my car, or not my car, Gemma's car, relatively quickly after the game for some reason, and I heard the Sean Dyche interview when we were just getting home, sat in the car, and he used a word, and I think you've hit possibly onto something there, Simon, but not the way you think you had. I think we chose to kick off to make sure we had possession, and Spurs tried to upset the apple cart, you know, let's kick the other way. You know, like if you go to Anfield, the whole kick against them was a cop second half thing that they do. So I think maybe Spurs thought they would try and upset the apple cart. They've got plenty of players like that, haven't they, that try to upset any old apple cart. And I think thing was, all the stuff you'd heard from their manager was they were going to be on the front foot, blah, blah, blah. And Sean Dyche used a word that I think Kate kind of said the whole thing as well there, and it summed up in one word. We were relentless.
Yeah.
Absolutely relentless. And he used it in a different way. He was talking about how he wants his players to be relentless. That's why he's getting their fitness up, etc., etc. Good habits, it becomes a habit, relentless. And we were. Tottenham, they had nothing to hurt us. Kudos, we know he's not a bad player. He got nothing, did he? He had no service. And that all comes from winning that midfield battle as well, to be fair. But yeah, relentless is the word I'd use for it as well. I was so proud
I
of
just wanted somebody to do some keepy-uppies right next to the John. That's what I wanted. I was like, come on, somebody, just stand there and do us a few keepy-uppies, because we
I
are...
got took out by Jono again.
Yeah, I was going to say, like Richarlison did last season.
It needed a Forest player to do the keepy-uppies during that period of malaise that was going on in the
that's
second
right.
half.
Come on.
And then Jono come in and chop someone in half again for them. He did it that time, didn't he?
But yeah, I heard that same Dyche interview on the way home too, Mollo, and he did make a point that he wanted them to be relentless right to the end, didn't he? So even at 3-0, they were pressing really hard, weren't they? And that's the kind of Dyche ball that you'd like to see. Certainly at home. I don't know whether they'd be prepared to do that away, but as they're now getting into the system and they're getting used, everything's kind of starting to click, isn't it? And starting to fall in place. And I do like the two wingers as well that they had on as well. They were a good complement to the rest of the team, and it worked. And again, I'd like to see if they do that, if they're bold enough to do that away from home as well.
Especially at Fulham, who are going to be a slightly different proposition anyway, but also a different Fulham because 3 of their starters are obviously heading off to AFCON.
Yeah,
two in particular.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on, of course, for sure. But I do want to concentrate on the performance of a few players. I mean, every player came out of that with credit. There wasn't one bad performance. Even the goalkeeper didn't do anything wrong, which we have to be pleased about. And he's one of the players that I want to talk about. But I first want to talk about Sangare, because arguably was that his best game in the Garibaldi.
By a mile.
How much are they going to miss him now when he goes to AFCON?
It's a tough one. I'll go on this because I've been his biggest, harshest critic. And I've had some, as you know, I'm not working today, so I've been watching loads of football and getting on a few things keep coming up on my feed, some Spurs sites. I've had a bit of fun there. But I've been talking to a couple of guys I know about Sangare. And to sum it up for me, it was by far his best game. And especially when you compare that to the exact opposite last week at Everton. Everything he showed us in flashes, or half a game here and half a game there, or his defensive performance at Liverpool, it suddenly all came together. And the phrase I used, and I may have used it on the group, is he finally, and I don't care what anyone says about, he's been better this season. I get that he's been better this season, but he finally, for the first time, looked like that number 6 we've been needing for a number of years, and the one we thought we were buying when we bought him. And how much we miss him is a strange question in a way, isn't it? Because on that performance, any team would miss him. For the game, I sort of was a bit, I would rather have seen Dominguez or Luis starting. Not because, we know why, because he is Forrest in a way. He's so inconsistent this season since he's been a bit better. But to answer your question, it's by an absolute mile his best game. And what he's got to do now when he returns, and touch wood, fit and healthy, no diseases, no injuries, is carry on. And no one's going to play at that level every game. That's not what I mean. But get close to that level more consistently, rather than having a game where he's just a waste of a shirt, and we lose the game in midfield where the game is won and lost, and then a game 2 or 3 later where he does well. He's never done quite that before, but where he plays at somewhere near that level. If he can do that 65-70% of the time, then he's that player we thought we'd bought, isn't he? He's that number 6 we've been kind of crying out for many, many moons, to drive us forward, pass the ball forward, get a sort of little foot in, pick up on their mistakes. There's so many things he did right. Win a header. Not that the ball was in the air much, to be fair, because we just passed it around, didn't we? So my frustrations with him have partly been because we all knew he was capable of all those things he did, but he's never done it all in one game before. I'm so happy he's done it, because I'm not going to say I'm fully converted yet, because it's about consistency, isn't it? But I now believe we've got a player who can do that, not just might do that. or might do it for 20 minutes, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's been taken out of the team, Kate, due to AFCON, and we're having to think about replacements, which that in itself is a bit of an issue because you have Ryan Yates, who's going to be out until January. You have Dominguez, who's now picked up a knock. You have Douglas Luiz coming back from injury, albeit he's a different type of player. But it does make the absence of Sangare even more prominent now, doesn't it, in that first 11?
It does. Although Douglas Luiz would seem to be the most likely person to step in, I think, and I suppose it coinciding with him potentially finding some level of fitness, we could say, is a positive. And before this game, let's be honest, if we were saying, should we start Douglas Luiz or should we start Sangare, I think most of us would be saying Douglas Luiz. So, but what he has done is he has put down his marker, hasn't he? And he has said, okay, so I'm going to go to AFCON now, but when I come back, you've got to be better than that, or I'm stepping straight back in. Is how I feel about it. And yeah, he was absolutely immense yesterday. So yeah, well done, Sangare.
See, I'm the other end of Mollo. I have always liked Sangare. I've always feel like I don't know whether it's because when you watch a player quite closely and you tend to just home in on each game, and I could see that he does like the simple things well, and I don't know what it was, and I feel like I knew that he could be that player, but I think it's because there was a very high expectation of him with the amount of money that he costs and obviously injury and illnesses and all things like that. But he just seems to be this mop-up kind of player. He tidies everything up. And you watch, no one tackles him. Don't know why, but he just doesn't. I'd rather start him over Douglas Luiz. I don't think Douglas Luiz is a bad midfielder, but if I did have the choice, I would pick Sangare.
You probably then were dead chuffed when he scored, weren't you, Chelsea? Let's talk about that goal, because it was a terrific strike. And I said earlier, I was sat next to Kate and saw the ball hit the post, but didn't actually realise at first it had gone in because the row in front all stood up. And I missed the ball actually hitting the back of the net. It went so fast. But obviously it was a great strike, Chelsea. What were you like at home? And you were watching it with your dad, weren't you? And you put something in the chat about you reckoned we could hear you from home.
Well, it was one of them. I was the same as you. On telly, I thought it had hit the post. I didn't see it hit the back of the net at all. And then it was just this real big, like, delayed reaction. And then my dad cheered, and I was like, well, hang on a minute. He thought it's gone in, and it hasn't. And then all of a sudden, I just realised, and yeah, it just... I remember before when I had to do the silent cheer because my mum was in bed with a very bad migraine. She wasn't in bed with the migraine that day. So,
she's now, though.
Yeah,
she's got one now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of his boot as well, it was a fantastic goal. And obviously, yeah, it was just brilliant. It was just a bloody great game to watch.
It's probably clearer for you in A block, wasn't it, Mollo, when the ball hit the post? You'd have clearly seen it go in straight away.
As soon as he hit it, I was convinced it was going in. It was only when I saw it at the replay, or obviously on the scoreboard and later on telly, I realised how much slice he'd put on it. If it had been half a yard further back, it would have been about 10 yards wide. He hit it that perfectly, didn't he? It was absolutely spot on, and it was just total carnage in A block, as you can imagine. And let's be clear, I'm really, really pleased. I don't want to see Forest spending 30 million and not getting a £30 million player. To hark back to what you said there, Chelsea, on a good day, does do a bit of mopping up and a few simple things, but that's not what you should be getting for 30 million quid. We've got loads of players who can do that. It is what he did. I'm not talking about the goals or the assists either. I mean, it was his first thought seemed to be passing through the lines into someone like Anderson or Gibbs-White, or even into Jesus, who was magnificent as well. So I think that's the difference. He can get us up the pitch with quality. All this stuff about Dyche ball that you hear from other people and long ball, that was like 20-yard bullet passes along the floor, which Gibbs, White and co have got such a good touch, and they had to because they were great passes into them. So yeah, that was what I meant about not think. It's hard. He used to get caught in possession too much before recently as well. But anyway, that's going back. As soon as he hit it, I knew it was a goal.
So in the future, Mollo might want to dance with Sangare. You never know, people.
No one wants to dance with me for anything, trust me. Two
One
left
of-
feet.
One of the things I've noticed about Sangare, he's getting forward a lot more, isn't he? And he's getting more chances. And a perfect example of that was the first goal, where he robbed Gray on the edge of the penalty box and set it up for Callum Hudson-Odoi. And Hudson-Odoi is the next player I want to go to in terms of having a conversation, because he's been in and out of the team a lot lately. But those two goals were terrific in their own right. Obviously, one was a tap in, and then scoring from a cross as well in the second half. But on that goal, I think he was quite fortunate to get that, because by all accounts Sangare should have scored himself. But I don't know if you've seen it, having watched it back, Kate. His first touch after he'd robbed Gray was atrocious.
Shinned it, didn't he?
Yeah, and he just happened to get it across to Hudson-Odoi to finish. But so let's talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi then, because he put in another great performance down that left-hand side. And I really like looking at him in the first half when he was near us, when he was doing all those little triangles with Williams and Anderson and Sangare, to be fair. And it was great to watch. So I know that's what they're paid for, but to see it firsthand, you could see from that early tempo, Kate, he did look to be on form.
He absolutely did. And I think I loved seeing his name on the team sheet when it came out that he was starting. I was looking for that. I was waiting for it. So I did have a feeling that it was going to be his day and that the game was going to really suit him. And we never knew, that Spurs were going to wrap it up in a nice Christmas bow for us. But it did suit him. And that, again, coming back to the tempo and the way that we controlled the game, they were just given that freedom. He was given that freedom to do his thing, and he did it to absolute perfection. And, I think we both stood there, didn't we, when he scored the, was it a shot, was it a cross goal? His tip of the cap to Jack Colback moment.
Yeah.
We both just kind of stood there, didn't we, Simon? Like open mouth. Like, it took us a couple of beats before we started going, yeah, because it was just like, what was that? Oh my God. And it was the same, I did another moment of spontaneous cheering because I also watched the game back today because I've also not been back at work. So I sat wrapping my Christmas presents, had it back on. And when it went in, even though I knew it was coming, I was still like that, dropping my wrapping paper going, yeah, because it's just absolute class, absolute brilliant footballing moment. And, I was looking at it and it was both of them, Sangare and Callum Hudson-Odoi. It was either the goal or the assist on each of those moments. And, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi got man of the match in the ground, didn't he? And that's hard to argue with, but there is obviously also a case, and I will come to it, to Sangare. And to be fair, Igor Jesus as well, who I know he didn't get the goal, but he put a proper shift in, and he took a lot of fouls and he ran those channels, and he was great. So yeah, it just worked, didn't it? Just all just worked.
Yep.
And it was definitely a cross, wasn't it, Chelsea?
When will players, right? I don't care if that was me and I meant a cross and shot. I would have gone, yeah, of course it was a shot. Of course it was. Of course I'm that good.
He more or less did, didn't he, on Match of Day? He said he laughed as it was a shot cross.
Cross.
Yeah, he was taking a mick, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was.
Yeah,
Sorry,
can I just add, a centre forward as you once were, Simon? I think
still am.
Yeah, but a lot slower pace. You've got to not, I can't think of the right word, not degenerate his first goal, because he's the left winger who got into that position on the right hand side of the box. That's an awareness and a natural thing that you look for in a striker a lot of the time. And he made, because if he hadn't have done that, Sangare's game, because we know what he can be like sometimes mentally, could have just flopped if he'd have messed that up. But luckily he was in that right position, so Sangare managed to scoop it to the right, which I didn't realise. I watched it on telly, to be fair. I just thought, wow, that was a great assist. So credit to Callum Hudson-Odoi for just reading the situation. As soon as Sangare won it, he got round him, didn't he, almost, or across the box to give him that option. And it was just, he was great, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know my feelings on Callum Hudson-Odoi anyway. I've always said he's the best player at looking after the ball that we have.
So I looked Yeah. I looked at the goal, and in the build up to the cross coming in, he wasn't looking at the goal at all. He absolutely had no idea where the goal was. So I can't see how it was a deliberate shot, because he was purely guesswork in terms of, yeah, I mean, it was a great cross, and had he not scored, I'm sure Jesus would have knocked it in anyway. But
Yeah.
it
Keeper
was a
should have
goal.
intercepted it, shouldn't he?
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true.
Because we were in line with that. And when as the keeper was there, I assumed he was going to at least slap it or something. But when it dropped over,
Talking of keepers, I do want to talk about Big John, as he's now affectionately known,
Little
because
John.
we've seen him play in the European games before, and this was his Premier League debut, and he's kind of, are we going to get those heart in mouth moments that we perhaps have seen previously? And to be fair, he did okay. He didn't have a lot to do, but his footwork seemed okay on the ball, wasn't it? That was okay. He didn't have too many shots to save, other than that one from Gray in the first half, which he gathered quite nicely, and then got the rebound as well. So overall, nothing to write home about, I don't think, but he looks solid enough, and it remains to be seen whether he'll play again in the near future, depending on how Sells recovers from his groin injury. But any particular thoughts from anyone on Big John?
I think he didn't really have much to do, did he? It's really hard to kind of analyse him based on that game, because Murillo was back, the brick wall of our back four was in, and he didn't have to do really anything, did he? And yeah, I know what you mean, Simon, about his footwork and everything, and yeah, but again, to analyse him from that game, I'm not really sure that we can, and I wouldn't pick him over Sells anyway. But again, we're never going to know in the future when we are going to need him, but I think it'll be determined on a game where he does have more work to do, and I think that's when we will be able to see what he is capable with.
Yeah, fair point. I agree with that. Anything to add, Kate? Because I know you were particularly keen to talk about. Keep calling him Big John, but as he's
Could be
now
Little
known.
John, Robbie
Little
Lodge.
John.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So I think we just got to give him a bit of credit, because he got a clean sheet, and that's something that actually Matt Sells has been lacking. And I'm sure Matt Sells would have got a clean sheet yesterday, but he must have been feeling the nerves. And a lot of Forest fans saw his name. Well, I was in the NAV pre-match, and Emily Anderson was on the mic, and when she announced that John was in goal, there was a groan, a collective groan came across everybody. So it wasn't something that we were wanting to see. And I think that instilled some nerves in me, because, and I said to one of the guys that sits behind us, made a comment about it, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine as long as they don't get a shot on target. Little did I know. Well, they did get one, didn't they? He saved it. He did okay. You know, he did have one save to make. Was it? I think it was just one save to make.
It was, yeah.
And he did. He saved it. And like you say, his distribution was fine. With, I think there was one that he kicked out, wasn't there? You know, and actually he looked okay. He looked confident. He didn't look nervous. And I also feel that the players didn't look nervous of him. You know, yeah, the defence were absolutely solid, but you didn't feel like they were compensating for him at any point, which you do see and you can see sometimes. So I think all round, we've got to give him credit for a clean sheet, and we've got to say that if he is in the starting lineup against Fulham, let's try not to panic too much. Let's just hope that that is the start of him becoming a decent option as a second keeper.
I thought he dominated his box pretty well as well. I know he didn't have many crosses to deal with, but the ones he had to deal with, he dealt with really comfortably. Got good distance on the punch when he was under a lot of pressure. Didn't have the old Weetabix wrists that we've seen too much of this season. I thought he was faultless, wasn't he? I think Kate's nailed it there. But so has Chelsea, in that it's hard to judge him overall, and it's only one game, but he did absolutely nothing wrong and was faultless. The one shot that was on target, it was in the corner actually at the time, I thought he'll save that easy. But when I saw it back on TV, I was like, that was a harder save than it looked. And he's about 7'8", isn't he? So getting to that corner was pretty good going.
I do want to give him some credit for his communication, because being so low down where Kate normally sits, and apologies if you can hear a dog in the background, but somebody's just knocked on my door and he's going mental for me to open it. But
Postman.
He's saying he likes John, that's what it is.
Yeah, he does. But I do want to give him credit for his communication, as I say, because sitting low down, you can hear the players talk and shout a lot more. And in the second half, he was talking to his defence quite a lot because you could hear him shout. So from that perspective, his communication skills are up there. And given the fact he's not speaking the native language either, albeit he probably could communicate with Murillo better than the rest of the back four, I certainly thought he did all right on that basis.
Quite an experienced keeper as well, let's not forget. He's not like the previous Brazilian we had who'd been a second keeper.
So we talked about Big John. I also want to mention the ref as well, very briefly. Don't want to give him too much airtime, but it wasn't a great performance by the ref, who was the same one that gave that corner at Bournemouth. Another couple of dodgy decisions, weren't they, Kate? Thankfully, it didn't affect the overall result, but yeah, it wasn't a great performance by him.
It wasn't, and I think that we made our feelings very clear about how we were judging his performance at half-time when they came off. It was Jesus for me was the big one. Like, I mean, how many more fouls were they going to inflict upon him before he got out a yellow card or just gave us something? It just felt like, come on, how are you not seeing this? And then he gave a goal kick when it was a corner, which was just, again, just your fundamental errors. And I do think he maybe was slightly better in the second half. So maybe he heard the boos as he came off and thought, maybe I do need to have a little bit of a look at myself, or maybe that's me being kind. But yeah, if it had have affected the result, I think it would be a much bigger conversation. But yeah, he didn't know what he was doing, I believe.
I don't know whether you've been on the stadium tour, but I've been on it, and they took us into the referee's dressing room, and they were explaining, the tour guide, about how they give all the luxuries to the officials to make them feel like the City Ground is a nice place to come and referee, and they're going to make to feel welcome, they're going to make to feel comfortable. They can have all the luxuries they want, and it's almost like psychologically, would that have an impact on the performance of the ref in terms of being slightly in favour of the home team? And that's what the story the tour guide said, is that it's not a deliberate bribery attempt, clearly, but it's psychological. You make them feel warm and you make them feel welcome, but it clearly didn't work on this occasion, I don't think.
I think he was terrible for both teams, to be fair. I thought he was just an awful referee. It was like he was guessing at times and giving, like Kate said, there would be practically a rugby tackle or assault on one of the centre forwards, because we did it to them as well. And then in midfield, someone would go down from brushing their shoulder or getting coughed on, and he'd give a free kick. I think he was just so, it's that word again, so inconsistent. It was awful.
Yeah, go on, Chelsea.
No, I was saying, well, we'll take a note of his name down and don't give him all the luxuries if he ever comes to the City Ground next time. But honestly, if us four are all bad at our job, what happens? Well, we'll get the sack, won't we? Like, I just don't understand how you can ref that badly. I mean, I have no idea what his name was. I couldn't, you know, when you kind of pinpoint referees and know their name. Well, let's just say he had quite a few names yesterday when from me and my dad. But I think me and Dad were looking, and 47 minutes had gone past before he'd actually gave something our way. It's just ridiculous. I think we could all see it, and yeah, it's just very frustrating.
Yeah. Right, coming up very quickly, we're going to hopefully have an FPL update this week and a quiz. But before we get to that, Mollo, you're going to do your moment, and then we are going to be doing our man of the matches for Spurs and Utrecht, because we do need to record those. So very quickly, Mollo, what's your Mollo's moment from Spurs, please?
Honourable mention, obviously, for Sangare's goal, which would normally have taken it. But get your scarves out for the lads, and you've got your scarves, so off you go home, or worse, that effect. I just thought that was just class, old school terrace banter, especially to get your scarves out of that. And it was just, I just loved it, and a lot of people did. I thought A Block were back on good form as well. Perhaps the after effects of Utrecht, because so many people I saw in Utrecht that I saw again. And before the game, they're all the same. But yeah, that was it for me. I thought proper old school terrace banter back in play, because you don't always see it these days.
Right, whilst you're on there, Mollo, let's do man of the match for Spurs to start with. Who's yours?
Well, loads of contenders. I think, like you say, back five were brilliant, but games are won and lost in midfield. And I think the two wingers were both absolutely brilliant. Both. We haven't mentioned Hutchinson, who was almost as well, equally as good, really. It was a two-pronged attack, wasn't it? Who were both brilliant, but that and it was all built on the midfield absolutely winning the battle, the front man holding up that ball. I thought our midfield three was superb, but the pick of the bunch. And gives me great pleasure. I never thought I'd be saying this season. Man of the match for me, edging it, was Sangare. Well done to him. Typical Forest that we now haven't got him for a few weeks, but there we go.
Okay, very quickly then, Kate, your Spurs man of the match, please.
So I'm stealing this. I heard this on Forest Focus, and I think I heard it on Match of the Day as well. So Ibrahim Sangare is the first Forest player to get 2 assists and 1 goal in the Premier League since Steve Stone versus QPR in May 1996. So for me, Sangare.
All right, Chelsea, who are you going with?
It was difficult, Hudson-Odoi or Sangare, but I am going to go with Hudson-Odoi scoring a hell of a goal like he did. Shot cross.
Yeah, I can't look further than Sangare either. I think he thoroughly deserved it. Like you say, Mollo, it's a shame he's now departing, but let's hope he makes an early return from AFCON, of course. So I'm going to go Sangare.
You're going to get all the complaints from, is it Ivory Coast?
Well, I wouldn't mind that at all, because at least it means they're listening.
So, like Ivory Coast listeners, I apologise on behalf of Simon.
Yeah, we are truly global, actually. We do have listeners spread all over the world. I can't say we have any in the Ivory Coast, though, so there's always a first time. Okay, let's very quickly, name only for Utrecht man of the match. I'm going to go for Callum Hudson-Odoi for my Utrecht man of the match. Mollo, who are you going for?
Dominguez.
Another one for Dominguez.
Hat-trick for Dominguez.
Oh, 3 for Dominguez. Okay, he's not had any man of the match votes, I don't think, this season so far.
He has been injured for most of it in his defence.
Yeah.
He was an absolute engine in Utrecht. There's no
Which
other
is
word for
why
it.
I thought he might have started. Ironic, but isn't it great we've got competition when they're all back from wherever they're all going off to?
Right. Let's have an FPL update from you, Chelsea, shall we?
Yes.
Shall we have one quickly?
I'll do a very quick one. So, Mollo, you're down to 11th. I know. You're 42 points. But you have also got Mbuemo in your team. So, and he's not back, is he? So I don't know who's going to come in for you, because I'm in the exact same boat. So Gravenberch is going to come in for me with an extra 5 points. But 63 points. I didn't do too badly this week. I was quite chuffed with myself that I actually made it into the 60s. Kate, you're down to 26th.
Sorry, I'm busy Googling. I can't resist this.
You got 46 points, so you did do well on points anyway. And then Simon, 5th place. 71 points with your bench boost. But the thing is, the people on your bench didn't even boost you that much anyway.
No, they didn't at all. No.
So you had Saka as captain, 22 points. Foden. What was that, Mollo?
Oh, sorry. No.
Then Foden were 11. Haaland then got you 13.
Who's put Foden in?
Well, I've got Foden, and
Good
so
shout.
Simon. Oh, have you as well, Kate? Very nice. But I do just want to say...
I was robbed by the clock, to be fair.
But I do just want to quickly say to everybody as well, remember to use all of your chips before the game week 19 deadline, otherwise you do lose them. So just remember.
Mollo's probably just realised that Mbuemo is actually going to be available for Man United against Bournemouth after all, so he's not missing that game. Yes, just got an alert on my phone.
Handy.
Talking of alerts on my phone, I just got another one from Google saying Thomas Frank is favourite to be the next Premier League manager to be sacked. Interestingly enough. Right, anything more on FPL, Chelsea?
Just, your brother will be very happy, Simon, and I will give him a mention because he is now not a bottom of the league. So I did just want to point that out there. We have a new loser with FC No Chance, he's actually called himself, Stephen Brown. Does anybody know him?
Yeah. Welsh Steve from Door.
Welsh Steve, you're rubbish. And then at the top is still my cousin, Jack Harrell, with 986 points overall. It's ridiculous. Wow. But anyway, enough about him.
So don't worry, Welsh Steve. The way I'm going, I'll be down there with you soon.
Yeah, last week said My brother David was bottom of the league, and I hadn't told him that you'd got an you'd mentioned him, and he actually watched the show on YouTube. So, folks, we're now on YouTube, so check us out there if you want to watch us do the pod as opposed to listen. So he watched it, and he absolutely killed himself laughing when he found out that he was bottom, because he didn't know either. So that was hilarious. He did send me lots of laughing face emojis when he heard, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. So that was good. Right, okay, very, very quickly then, because we're approaching 50 minutes, let's talk briefly about our next game at Fulham, which is 8 days away from Spurs. Plenty of time to rest, plenty of time to recharge their batteries. Fulham currently on 13th place on 20 points. So over the last 6, they've won 3 and lost 3. Is it a good time to play them? As you said earlier, Mollo, they're looking to... they've gone losing 3 players to AFCON, 3 starting 11 players as well, by all accounts. Is it a good time to play them, do you think?
Maybe. We'll see. It's a tough one. Basson has been superb for them, hasn't he? And obviously, what's his face in midfield has been very good. But the lad they've got on loan from Milan has been on fire lately. I didn't realise that until this weekend when I saw he wasn't going to be there, and I looked up his stats. So probably there are definitely worse times to play them, I'll put it that way, but I'm not counting my chickens because they've got some very, very good players not going to AFCON that can come in if they're fit. Like, we've seen them play against us before, we know how good they are. And Traore absolutely destroyed us at their place last year, didn't he? So he'll be champing at the bit to get that right wing slot back, I assume.
Yeah, and Harry Wilson, Kate, is another player who's well in form at the moment for Fulham, and he's a very popular FPL pick at the moment as well, I believe, and didn't get him in my team, but he seems to be doing really well for them.
Well, if he's popular in FPL, I clearly know nothing about him.
No. Say you refuse to pick him because he used to play for Derby.
So I do feel this is a good time to go there. We are coming, dare we say, to a bit of form. We're starting to get some players back. You know, the biggest thing is this break, isn't it? I think this is the only break we've got over the Christmas period, and they have got a bit of time to train, to recuperate, to enjoy that winning feeling for maybe a little bit longer than they might have. So I would say we go there and we play our best team, and we hopefully go with a bit of confidence. And I've said it before, it's about time we were able to turn confidence into consistency. So maybe that starts next week.
And there's a massive incentive, isn't there, Chelsea? Because if they beat Bournemouth, if they beat Fulham, they go above Fulham in the league table because they're only 2 points ahead. So that's a massive incentive, isn't it, to take into Christmas if they can somehow pull out a win.
Well, that's what I was looking at. It's not about us just gaining 3 points. It's taking 3 points, 2 points away from other teams. I was just having a little look at the table at Fulham's last 5 games. So they have won 3, lost 2, which is exactly the same as us. So, I mean, I think this is a good time to play them. And like you said, with the points, 2 points between us, we win this, we go above them, and then that, I feel like, I don't want to jinx it, but I do want to say it as well. I feel like we are now picking up that momentum of winning games. And yeah, I feel confident that we can beat them.
I watched that game against City the other week where they lost 5-4 at home, of course, and it was a really good game for goals, of course. And I thought, which Fulham's going to show up? Is it going to be the Fulham that lets in 5, or is it going to be the Fulham that pulls it back and scores 4? So
Forest going to show up.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If it ends up being 5-4 to Forest, then we're in for a treat, aren't we? So, incidentally, I was trying to think about this earlier. Does anyone remember when the last 5-4 game was for Forest? Remember? Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Villa Forest was 5-5, but the 5-4 one was where Coventry went 4-0 up. Clough got a really quick hat-trick to pull it back, and it ended up being 4-4 before Coventry scrambled a winner in the League Cup. I do remember listening to that one on the radio. Were you there, Mollo?
Yeah. I remember just the joy of getting back to 4-2, 4-3, 4-4, rubbing it in, going nuts and thinking, that's it now, we're going to go on and win, especially with the sort of team we had back then. And then they won. I just always remember Terry Butcher, their manager's interview afterwards, like when I watched it on the highlights later, saying, or it might have been on the radio on the way home, but he was so calm. He said, yeah, there was I've always felt we could get the winner when it got back to 4-4. I thought, what a liar.
Was that when Forest were the holders of the cup as well?
Yes, it was our first defeat for something like nearly 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right. Right, very quickly, score predictions, Mollo, for Fulham away.
2-1 Fulham.
Chelsea.
2-1 Forest.
Kate.
Yeah, 2-1 Forest.
I'm going for 2-2. I think should be hopefully a good game. I'm gonna go for a 2-2.
Take that.
Right, that's it from us. We shall return after the Fulham game with a review of that and look forward to the game in a busy Christmas period against Man City and Everton, I believe. So games are coming thick and fast. We'll be there with you along the way to bring you as much of the action as possible in terms of reviewing the games. And don't forget to check us out, as I said earlier, on YouTube. So if you fancy watching us, you can now see us in all our glory each and every week. So thanks again for listening, and bye for now.